the stunning death of actor Malcolm-Jamal Warner.
Breaking entertainment news, Malcolm-Jamal Warner has died.
Malcolm-Jamal Warner, dead at the age of 54 on a drowning accident.
This isn't your average celebrity passing away. This is the innocence of a generation being shattered. A living room's heartbeat, which once gave us a sense of security, has been permanently silenced. Theo Huxtable's creator, Malcolm-Jamal Warner, is no longer with us. Phylicia Rashad didn't just cry when she heard the news. She fell to the ground. She screamed, according to witnesses, before her knees hit the ground. "Not my baby, please, not my Theo."
This was a very strong riptide that didn't just affect Malcolm, and I don't know that even if there had been a lifeguard there, if he would have been able to have been saved.
TMZ with the final photo of Malcolm as he headed to his family vacation in Costa Rica from his home in Atlanta.
She wasn't faking it. She was never. Malcolm was more than just a co-star to her. He belonged to the family, her son in all the important ways. Her pride was his joy. His suffering was her anguish. And now she is devastated by his death. The room froze when they played his last voice note. His words echoed with trembling. "Just know that you are my only source of light in the dark, Mom. In case I don't wake up one day, ghosts now inhabit the set where laughter once reigned. In corners, makeup artists are crying. Wiping their eyes, the camera crew, even the walls of the old Cosby show appear to be in mourning. Please give me my child back," she pleaded, clutching the chain he had given her back in 1988 and holding it to her heart. "Simply return him," she was held by Sabrina Lavoth.
Today, Malcolm's TV dad, Bill Cosby, crushed by the news of his on-screen son's passing.
Bill, why is your shirt wide open?
That's what we heard.
Kesha Knight was speechless. Since this was more than just Theo's death, nobody could. An era was coming to an end. Now the couch is empty, and it hurts to be silent. You will weep today because Theo is no longer with us. If you have ever experienced the warmth of that show, and the woman who loved him, his mother, is left to scream into space. At first, she stood motionless, as though time had sucked the air out of her lungs, without saying a word. Phylicia Rashad did not cry softly when they informed her that her Thea had passed away and that Malcolm-Jamal Warner was no longer with them. She let out a scream. A heartbreaking scream tore from her heart and reverberated throughout the hospital's corridors. She then collapsed in a single moment, falling to her knees and gripping the floor as if she were attempting to stop the earth from spinning. "Oh, my child, my Theo." Her voice broke, her hands shook in front of everyone, her heart broke. Anyone in her immediate vicinity froze because this was not acting. The Cosby Show was not the setting for this scene. This was heartbreaking, honest, and unvarnished. Claire Huxtable, as she was known in America, had recently lost her son, and the entire world sensed it at that very moment. Only a few hours had passed since the emergency call was placed. On a secluded beach in Costa Rica, a man had been discovered unconscious, just a body with a chain around his neck. No identification, no witnesses.
He was really a great kid.
Yeah.
He was really,
A lot
really.
of kids grew up with him.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And Beyonce posting on her official website, "Rest in power, Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Thanks for being a big part of our shared television history."
I knew him very well. We were young together.
All right, everybody, say party till you drop.
The whispers didn't start until a hotel manager recognized him from television decades ago. That's Theo from The Cosby Show. Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death was soon confirmed, not from harm or overdosing, but from what authorities refer to as respiratory trauma or water in the lung. However, there was something off about it. Furthermore, headlines weren't the only things that exploded when news broke. Hearts were involved. Phylicia Rashad's phone rang while she was in Atlanta, giving a guest lecture to a group of young Black actors. At first, she picked up casually. Her face then went completely white. Her mouth moved, but she didn't make a sound until she muttered, "You're lying. Tell me you're lying, please." Her legs buckled and a producer stepped in to catch her. Phones fell. Members of the crew ran. She refused medical attention, even after an ambulance was called. A doctor wasn't necessary for her, he was necessary to her. Staff made an effort to get her ready when she got to the hospital later that night. She didn't want comfort. Even though they offered her a chair, tissues, and a hand, she sought the truth. Phylicia covered her mouth as they drew back the sheet. Mists of tears poured out. She gazed at him, the young man she had seen mature both on and off screen, the one who, even after the camera stopped rolling, continued to call her mother. She muttered, "You appear to be just sleeping." But the stillness was too loud, the silence unbearable. Then someone said and gave her Malcolm's phone. Only a few hours before his death, he left a voice message, and what followed broke her heart again. He sounded scared, broken, and low. "Mom, know that you are my lone source of light in the dark if I never wake up. You were the only source of warmth that remained when everything else grew cold." She let out a breath. She cried into her hands after dropping the phone.
When I was about 6 years old, I told my parents that I was either going to be a famous actor, a famous poet, or a famous basketball player.
"Baby, why didn't you give me a call? Why didn't you let me know that you were in pain?" Nurses wept in silence. Overwhelmed, even the morgue attendant excused himself. It was more than sadness. It was shame, a nagging fear that perhaps, just possibly, she might have been able to save him if she had known. The Cosby Show's cast had begun to arrive by the following morning. Sandrace actor Sabrina Laboth stood in stunned silence. Knight Polium Kesha Rudy was unable to speak. Her mascara was running and her eyes were red. "This can't be real," Elvin Jeffrey Owens muttered, shaking his head. "It isn't possible." They convened in the hospital chapel to seek answers rather than to pray. What became of the man who made millions of people happy? Why was he by himself? Why weren't the signs noticed? Hundreds had gathered outside. In remembrance, candles, posters, vintage Cosby Show memorabilia, and childhood DVD box sets were placed. On camera, a fan broke down. "Theo was more than a fictional character. He was my older brother. He grew up with me. He taught me. This is too painful." Theos became a global trend in a matter of hours, not Theo. Restraining Malcolm Theo indefinitely, Phylicia returned inside and gripped the chain he had given her back in 1988. A tiny charm made of silver that features the letter M. It was his first large salary. "You've always looked out for me," he said to her at the time. "I want you to have this so you'll know I'm still your boy, even when I'm grown up." And now, all she had left was that same chain. With swollen eyes, she pressed it to her chest and let out another cry. "Return him to me. Just return him, please." Her voice haunted everyone who heard it, echoing down the corridors. Phylicia wasn't the only one who lost a loved one that day. All of us did. Memories flooded social media. Theo dancing in the living room in clips. Theo is listening to Cliff Huxtable lecture him. Jokes from Theo at the dinner table. "I grew up in that living room," one fan wrote on Twitter. "That voice and that smile are gone. I'm having trouble breathing. This ain't just a celebrity death," someone else wrote. "It's like losing family." And it was just that for millions. However, a leaked clip of unreleased footage from The Cosby Show's final season may have been the most heartbreaking moment. Following the filming of their last scene, Malcolm gives Phylicia a hug. "You'll always be my mom, no matter what," he says, embracing her. Now, that video is going viral with the simple caption, "Goodbye, Theo." A devastating video that no fan was prepared to watch surfaced as the news of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's untimely death continued to reverberate throughout the entertainment industry. Online users started sharing a behind-the-scenes video from The Cosby Show's last season. Within it, "Just know that you were the only light I had in this business, Mom. If I don't wake up one day, I always felt secure with you. I appreciate you being my true family during difficult times." All around the world, that message broke hearts. A staff member leaked exclusive hospital corridor footage. When Phylicia hears the voicemail, she is seen crashing to her knees. Her cry reverberated throughout the corridor. Producers, makeup artists, and even security personnel hurried to her, but she was unable to breathe. "My Theo, my baby, he said goodbye, and I didn't hear it," she repeated. "I was unaware that it was farewell." It was later stated by one nurse that, "I've seen people lose family before, but this was something else. It was more than just a co-star being mourned by an actress. It was more than just a co-star being mourned by an actress. A mother lost her son in that situation. The psychological toll was intolerable. When it was discovered that Malcolm had been fighting a serious case of depression in secret for years, another layer of suffering surfaced. He had distanced himself from the limelight and the cameras, writing poetry in secret notebooks, vanishing from events and evading phone calls. He had always arrived smiling, but his inner smile was gradually fading. Long after taping was finished, Malcolm would frequently hang around the vintage set furniture, sitting on that famous family couch, according to insiders with knowledge of the Cosby Show reunion tapes. He sat there one night with the lights off, recalled one employee. Even though I assumed he was simply exhausted, he whispered, "This couch was the only place I felt like I mattered." Today, that same couch is housed in a New York museum. Hundreds of fans gathered there as word of his passing spread, leaving handwritten letters, candles, and flowers. A youngster put a teddy bear with the words, "Theo taught me how to love my family" on it. Thank you. The invitation for Phylicia Rashad to speak during a live memorial segment for the national broadcast tribute, however, was possibly the most tragic of all. She was clearly trembling. Over her shoulders was a black shawl. She stared straight into the camera, and her voice broke. "He was known to all of you as Theo. I referred to him as my son, and where there was once laughter, there is now silence. This world has lost its light, and he will never again refer to me as Mom." The anchor was crying. The network was inundated with messages from viewers pleading for the rerun of the clip. "This isn't just about losing a star," read one tweet that went viral. "It's about losing a piece of our hearts and a piece of our childhood." That was just the beginning of the ripple effect. Playing Rudy, Kesha Knight Polium shared an Instagram reel in which she sobbed uncontrollably while displaying a picture of herself and Malcolm from their first episode together. "I never thanked you for being my brother, for keeping me safe on set, and for always dragging me away when I was afraid," she muttered. "My guardian angel Malcolm is no longer with me." Even Bill Cosby, Sabrina LaBauth, and Jeffrey Owens fell silent. Since this was more than a man's death, no one could find the right words. It was about a family breaking up. Supporters started talking about how the Cosby Show helped them get through difficult times. "I was in the hospital for months as a child," one cancer survivor wrote. "The only thing that made me laugh was Thea's jokes. I feel as though I've lost a big brother now." The last video clip from Malcolm's private journal, which was shared by a close friend, was the most impactful though. "I sometimes wonder if people would still love me if I weren't Thea," the page said. "Would anyone even notice me if the lights went out and my makeup disappeared?" He penned in small letters beneath that, "I just want someone to see me, really see me, before I disappear." And he has now. Investigators are still looking into his last days. Some people think it was caused by natural causes, like a potential cardiac condition. Others think his body gradually shut down due to the pain he carried. However, the outcome is the same regardless of the cause: quiet. It's a memory now, that smile we all grew up seeing. There's now only a YouTube video of the voice telling Rudy to leave my room. However, Malcolm will always have a place in Phylicia Rashad's heart. She won't take off the chain he gave her, according to a close friend. Every night she whispers, "Good night, baby boy," while holding it and saying goodnight to his picture. It's more than just a tragedy. It is a generational farewell and a cultural heartbreak. We are reminded that he was more than just a character as we all sit in this pain, watching old clips and recalling those episodes, those giggles, and the coziness of the living room. Our Theo was him. Not only did we lose an actor, but we also lost a brother and other family members. There was one thing, though, for which no one was ready, despite the tributes, the outpouring of love, and the silence that followed Malcolm's last breath. The last farewell. Malcolm's final moments were spent in a small coastal chapel in Costa Rica, and 3 days after his death, Phylicia Rashad, shaky with every step and wearing a simple black coat, arrived at the private memorial service. There was only grief, raw and unadulterated. No red carpet or camera flashes. Candles were lit all around the chapel, each one flickering like the memories that now defy fading. On plush velvet boards were pinned old photos of Theo from the Cosby Show. His laugh was lost in time, but captured in photographs. Phylicia held a folded 1989 script in her hand as she walked down the aisle. Among their most poignant moments together, she trembled. Silently, as though whispering his lines back to herself, her lips moved. She fell to her knees as she arrived at the altar where Malcolm's ashes lay under a lone spotlight. The silence was broken by her voice. "Malcolm, Mom, I wasn't just your TV. I kept your heart safe. My heart is gone now." The chapel was hauntingly quiet. Men of all ages cried. Men of all ages cried. The original show's crew sat in stunned silence, unable to comprehend what they were seeing. The audio then began to play. Malcolm's last voice message. "I want everyone to know that I've come to terms with everything except losing you, Mom. If I don't wake up tomorrow, my home was you." Phylicia let out a scream. an agonizing sound that reverberated throughout the chapel like a mother lamenting her lone child. Uncontrollably crying, Sabrina Labeth held her from behind as Kesha Knight took tissues out of her bag. Her vision became blurry due to her own tears. Even the pianist paused, his hand shaking, as he played a gentle instrumental of the Cosby Show theme. It wasn't an act, it was destruction. The chapel screen flickered abruptly. A behind-the-scenes video that had never been seen before began to play. "Promise me, no matter what happens, you'll always remember me as your Theo," Malcolm whispers to Phylicia as he gives her a tight hug on set during the show's final taping. In the video, she responds, laughing, "Always, baby, forever." The chapel let out a collective cry. People's hearts tightened. With a single, straightforward line in white font, the screen went black as the clip came to an end. Not Oro. The Cosby House set, which had been preserved for years as a part of television history, was illuminated in blue back in Los Angeles. Outside, thousands of fans gathered with handwritten notes, stuffed bears, and candles. Old VHS tapes were brought by some. Some brought framed pictures of Malcolm with notes that read, "Theo, you raised me. Thank you. My first heartbreak, my first crush. Rest in peace, legend." Then the power went out just as the audience was getting ready to sing "Lean on Me" in his honor. The world went dark for a minute. Nobody let out a scream. Nobody made a move. The Cosby couch replica then came into focus. The chain Phylicia had worn at the memorial was empty but gently resting on the cushion. Malcolm's gift from 1988. Tears broke out in the crowd. It was the last symbol, the circle shutting down. The son bids farewell. The mother is letting go. Phylicia's voice then came through the speakers. "Thank you to everyone who watched our story unfold, and to all the kids who identify with Theo. We were all entitled to him." Supporters started giving strangers hugs. Even grown adults cried like kids. Hashtags immediately flooded the internet. Hashtag farewell Theo Malcolm for all time. Phylicia Theo. Even Netflix paid tribute to Malcolm-Jamal Warner by pausing all of its shows and displaying a black screen with a message for 30 minutes. A brother to the world, a light in our living rooms. Time magazine had a plain cover the following morning, white text on a black background with no pictures. "We simply lost Theo." Phylicia made one last trip back to the beach in Costa Rica. Whispering, "Go home, my child," she submerged a white rose in the water. "I hope to see you again in the future." An 8-year-old boy playing nearby asked his mother, "Why is she crying?" as the tide removed the rose. "Because sometimes when someone you love goes away, all that's left is the love," the mother retorted. The child stopped, waved, and glanced at the floating rose. For us, it was the end of a lifetime, but others claim it was only a scene, and in that instant, the world mourned a son, a brother, a friend, a soul we never truly knew was in such deep pain, spanning oceans, timelines, and generations. Malcolm forever Theo, forever loved, forever missed, forever Jamal Warner. Time heals all wounds, but how can you move on from losing someone who brought up a generation via television? How do you bid farewell to Malcolm-Jamal Warner's humor, insight, and tenderness? This was more than a celebrity passing away. This fragment of our early years was abruptly torn away. This was the moment when the theme song from The Cosby Show started to sound like a hymn to death. The strongest woman on our screens, Phylicia Rashad, was breaking down like any other grieving mother who has ever had to bury her child. We all saw him transform from the awkward teenager to the sensible, grounded adult, constantly present, genuine, and ours. And he's simply gone now. No final words, no farewell tour, only a quiet chapel, an empty beach, and a world that will never be the same. Therefore, do not resist if you are experiencing any of the following symptoms: a sting behind your eyes, a lump in your throat, or something in your chest. You're not by yourself. If Theo has ever made you smile, please leave a comment. Feel your heart break when you hear Phylicia whisper, "I lost my Theo." And please share this video if you have read this far. Show the world that he was important, his tale was important. His suffering was important. His memory will never wane now, not while we're watching. We lost more than just a performer. We lost a soul that helped us get through the most trying times as we grew up. Take it easy. Warner, Malcolm-Jamal, forever. Theo will always be a part of our hearts.